Hi, it's Beci R again. Here are a couple of takeaways I had. These chapters were so full, and this book is so full of exciting things to try and to use. I did really, though, appreciate two things that I'm taking away with me that were very strong. The first one was the chapter on preaching to women. I thought that the summary part of it really just made it all very clear when it said to use a rational tone and body language. Share your story, right? We connect when we share our story. That's the real dynamic. It's in the text of it, right? Discuss the relational application. Because as it says in the chapter, we have a lot to do, and we are moving all the time. And we want to know, how does this relate to what we're doing? Speak honestly and compassionately. It's very much what women want, and provide specific and helpful application. And I really tuned into where it said to use quotes from female authors. I hadn't really thought about that. Most of my quotes were male dominated. That's really interesting. And to tell stories of faithful women. Last year we did a Bible series on the women of the Bible. That was really great to learn as much as we did learn then. The next takeaway that I really enjoyed was a chapter on praying for your listeners. It talks about studying Paul's prayers, reflecting on the prayer of the sermon itself, and praying in the pews. This part I thought was amazing. I mean, there are so many times that afterwards we're caught up in the who's, where, and what, and who we've got to say hi to, and who wants to say hi to us. And there's so many people that need our attention afterwards. But beforehand, just walking through and blessing the people that will be there, the people that can't make it, the opening their hearts, having them listen with open minds, and being able to share that experience in the moment just sounds very powerful. At our church, we do the pray-ins. I know that most people do pray-ins with the people right before, that are doing the worship right before the people start showing up. But this, I thought, was a very powerful way to infuse that energy into the pews as well. So that's what I have for my takeaways. I thought they were both very powerful. My talk today is about life being an adventure. And there's an old Yiddish proverb that says that the human mind plans the way, but the Lord directs the steps. Because after all, life is an adventure, right? Has this ever happened in your life? Even as a Unity True student, I have found out, I've had many times in my life where I thought I had it all planned out, and whoops, course correction. That's at least what I call it. That I had to be, my course was changed, and I wound up exactly where I needed to go. The question is then, are we ever really off track? Have you ever thought of that? Someone makes a decision and goes a certain way, but then winds up going some other way. Are they really off track? So follow me here for a minute. I was doing the research for this, and I found that there's more than 25 journeys in the Bible. And these journeys show one thing for sure. Not everybody starts in one direction and winds up in that direction that they started in. And one of my favorite examples of this is, you guessed it, Jonah and the whale. I'm going to run through the story just a little bit here, just to get an idea. Now, Jonah was a prophet, right? And God came to him and said, look, I want you to go over Nineveh, and I want you to tell them to take back what they're saying, to repent their ways, and I want you to pray with them for 40 days, preach to them. And Jonah was thinking to himself, no, I don't want to do that. So what did Jonah do? Jonah pays sailors to take him in the exact opposite direction. So he chose a path over here where God said, this is your path. So he gets on the boat and he's going along, and then there's a big storm. God's getting mad, and he's just like throwing this boat and rocking this boat, and the sailors are like, they can't figure out what's going wrong, and they started thinking maybe it was Jonah. So they asked him, and he said, yeah, you should just throw me overboard now, because it was me. God's mad with me. I didn't do what he told me to do. And they were like, well, let's see if we can pray and let's see if we can get through this, because he paid some good money to be on this voyage. And finally, after a little while, they were like, it's just not working. So they picked him up and they threw him overboard. Now, for the sailors in the boat, that wound up being the trick for them. The seas calmed and they were fine and they were able to continue on their journey. For Jonah, it wasn't such luck. He gets swallowed by a whale. So he's sitting in the belly of the whale for days, and he has plenty of time. Imagine 72 hours sitting in the belly of a whale. You have plenty of time to think about your life. And Jonah then starts thinking, well, maybe I haven't been thankful enough. Maybe I haven't, maybe I didn't do what I was told, and I haven't been worshiped and been thankful. And I vow I will pay every debt that I need to pay. And he started making all these promises because he wanted to get through this. And then God goes, okay. So he had the whale spit him up. And Jonah went on about his way, doing what God had told him to do all along. So here's my question. Was Jonah really off track? Or was his track to rebel and learn and then do what needed to be done? Was in fact he on track all the time anyway? I have a personal example of a journey, making plans and destination. In 2012, my husband and I decided to walk the Camino de Santiago, 583 miles across Spain, backpacking. We had it all planned out. It was going to take us 6 weeks. We had our daily walking schedule. We had our guidebook. We had our lightweight everything. We only carried as much as we need. We had very little food with us. We would eat along the way. We were staying. We had this thing down to a T. We made our plan. And we arrived at St. John Pilot Port. And the first day we went over the Great Pyrenees Mountains. That was one of the most difficult parts of the entire trail. 2 weeks in, I started feeling like I was walking on glass. My feet hurt so bad. I went and found a pharmacist, and they told me that I probably had plantar fasciitis. Now, we were scrolling, using Google to translate between us, but I had plantar fasciitis, and I needed to rest my feet. So from this point on our 4 weeks left, I had to rest for 2 days to be able to walk for a day. And as you can imagine, every 3 days that went by, we got that much further behind on our journey. We were course corrected. We thought we had everything just right. And God said, wait, stop and smell the roses. During that middle time, we saw more of Spain and the architecture and the beauty of it. Then those quick trips of 13 to 20 miles a day, backpacking as quick as we could to get to the next hostel, get in line to get a room. So because we had fallen so far behind, we had to take a train from Lyon into Lyon. So we got on this train. We needed to catch back up with where we should have been. And the train experience was amazing. There was beauty everywhere, and there was just so much for us to see and take in. It was breathtaking. I was able to finish the journey, not as I had planned, or at least I thought, but did I really know? Was this really supposed to be my journey? And how do I know that? Now, there's a famous author about organization, his name's Stephen Covey, and he has this quote about that airplanes in midair are 90% of the time, they're off course. They're constantly recalculating to get back on course. Most of the time they land close to when they're supposed to. They take off close when they're supposed to, close to when they're supposed to. But that time in between, 90% of it, they are off track. They still get where they're going. So what's the answer? Is it our path, or are we always on track? I think the answer lies in the first 3 principles of the 5 basic principles of unity. The first one, there is one power and one presence, God the good. There's our answer, right? Number 2, we are one with that presence. There's only one presence. We're one with that presence. And number three, we co-create our experiences. We are exactly where we're supposed to be, and God is always with us. When we arrived back from our trip to Spain, my daughter-in-law had made me this beautiful embroidery plaque. She put it in a frame, and it says, Isaiah 30:21. Whether you turn to the right or you turn to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, this is the way, walk in it. We make the plans. God guides our footsteps. Let's enjoy the journey.